In order to get the money, you first have to prepare yourself to have the money, right? Hey guys, it's Terrie. How's your heart today? How is your heart? Well, I wanted to create a video series for you guys on energy and how it works and why it takes time for us to get to our goals and to create and manifest what it is that we want here in physical reality, the third dimension, to explain to you a little bit about the time-space continuum and energy of all sorts and how it affects us and all the things. So this is gonna be the first part in a 3-part video series. There is a lot here and I'm trying very hard to condense everything. So I might be talking a little too fast, so bear with me. Now, if you like any of this information, please like this video. I'm hoping that it's informational and that it gives you an awareness and an understanding in case you're finding you're frustrated because you're working towards your goal and you want to manifest things and it's just not happening in your time. Remember, there is such a thing as divine timing. So bear with me. I hope I am not going to talk too fast. So let's talk a little bit about energy. And I got my handy dandy board here, which will hopefully help explain. I'm an experiential learner and I like to hear and see at the same time. So hopefully this is gonna be helpful to you, okay? All right, here we go. We have energy waves, right? We have high energy waves and they move fast. We have low energy waves and they move slow. Okay? Slower waves are more physical in nature. So they're denser. Look, they move slower. So it's more dense. They're heavier. Think of it as heavy. Yes, yes? We have these high waves that are super fast. Just think of that. I wish you guys could see the bird. He's flapping his wings because I just went like this. But they move faster. And they're high vibrational words. Let's just take this stigma really quick out of a high vibrational person and a low vibrational person, because that has nothing to do with good or bad. This is energy. This is science. This is like, I like to call myself like a woo-yins person, like woo-woo in science, right? Energy doesn't give a fuck about anything. It just moves and it behaves in a certain way. However those subatomic particles are behaving, that's what it is. So when you think of a low vibe person, like most people, that's a human egotistical judgment. There's no such thing as somebody who's bad because they're low vibe. All it is a reflection of where their energy is at. Science, science, science. And on these waves, on these energy waves is data and information, which is why psychics, mediums, energy healers, whatever, all these woo people can extract information. They have these sensitivities through practice. Everybody has this skill, but through practice and development, they're able to read, sense through their physical senses, get that information off of those waves, okay? So we have non-physical waves, which are high, fast-moving waves. And we have physical waves, slow, dense-moving waves. Now, as you can see, there's a space gap, right? A space gap between high-moving waves and low-moving waves, okay? Because there is space here, it takes time for low, slow-moving vibes to get faster, right? To raise up to a high, fast-moving vibe. Same thing going the opposite direction. It takes time for a high-moving vibe to slow down to a low-moving frequency. Which is why before anything becomes physical in your reality, it starts off energetical. Is that a word, energetical? It starts off energy first and then it turns into something. It manifests into something, right? So for example, actually it goes like this. Let's say you want money, right? Money is tangible. It's something you can hold in your hand. It's physical. You can touch it. So that means that the waves are moving slow enough that it forms something, right? So in order to get the money, you first have to prepare yourself to have the money, right? So how would you do that? I'll go into that in a second. But it's just super important to understand for right now that it takes time to close the gap between wanting and actually having. Let's call that manifestation, right? So, you know, think of a baby being gestated, right? Mom gets pregnant. It takes 9 months to go from spermie and egg to an actual fetus, yes? There's a gestational period. It's growth period, okay? It doesn't happen right away. You wouldn't want it to happen right away. We women would be birthing blobs, right? So it's oftentimes really good that it takes time for us to get what we want, because it gives us the capability to, what's the word? Just kind of like fine tune, right? So we have low, we live in this time-space continuum, right? So it takes time. That's why it takes time for you to find that job, to get that relationship, to get healthier physically too, right? Because the body is physical. We are physical. Our human body is made of density and matter, slow-moving waves, and our non-physical self, our soul, are fast, high-moving frequencies, yes? Okay, so there's that, okay? So it's just really important for you to understand we live in a time-space continuum, and the only reason why it takes time for us to get what we want is because there's space between it. We're here and we want to be here, but we got to close that gap, and it takes time. That's the third dimension physical reality. Planet Earth. That's where you and I live in this lifetime, okay? So this dude, an American psychiatrist, his name is David R. Hawkins, and he came up with a consciousness frequency scale, okay? So basically, I'm just grabbing my pen here, and also let me get my little handy dandy laptop with my notes. He came up with this map of consciousness, okay? So what this is, and I'm gonna show you an example. Well, first of all, hopefully you're seeing right now, or you're about to see what this map of consciousness looks like, okay? So it tells you the name of the level, the energetic frequency, the associated emotional state, and what your lens is, or how you're viewing life in that moment, right? So what it does is it moves from lowest to highest. Again, what are we talking about when we talk about low, right? We are talking about how fast that energy wave is moving. So let me write this down as we go along. So if I'm blocking the view, I apologize. You'll see it in a second, okay? Okay, so we're gonna talk about the feelings, okay? These are frequencies. These are consciousness thoughts. Consciousness is energy, okay? Consciousness are states of mind, okay? So each of these are consciousnesses, okay? This means this is the energy that you're emitting, okay? So as you can see, that it actually feels better to feel guilty than feel shameful. And it feels way better to be fearful than grief, and like sadness and grief, right? And it feels so much better to feel anger than to feel fear. So with each frequency, it's getting higher and higher and higher, right? So this is gonna be super high, and this is gonna be low, right? These are the density consciousnesses, yes? And we start to get faster, right? So even fear is a faster moving frequency than shame, right? And we get courage, right? So as we're moving up the scale, what we're doing is we're closing that gap, right? And so we're starting to create reality, okay? So each step, you a sense of relief, which is really freaking awesome. So you're feeling way, way, way better. So just understand that this applies to your individual, it first applies individually to your energy system, right? And then there's a ripple effect to the collective, right? So your energy field will have an influence on someone else's or a few other people else's, energy systems through what's called entrainment, which is when two systems start to synchronize and then they become one. So for example, you're watching me, right? I'm a high vibrational person, which means most of the time I will be in like courage, acceptance, love. I will be in anger and I will be in fear. But I mean, it's not often that I'm feeling shame, guilt, or grief. You understand this? So my frequencies do tend to be higher. So people who spend time with me usually start to just feel better, right? So my system, my energy field is affecting theirs. It's touching theirs. It's influencing theirs through what's called entrainment. Okay. So that's what's going on there. So when you work on yourself and you become happy, you can actually influence other people. So it always starts with the individual and then it goes to the collective. Okay. Which is why, you know, humanity right now is having this massive breakdown so that we can rebuild ourselves into like this really great thing. And there are people who are in different consciousness states at various places, right? So a high vibrational consciousness can help that low vibrational consciousness, right? Because too many low vibrational consciousnesses doesn't go anywhere. It just stays like in this really low, dense place. And you know, if you dwell too long in those frequencies, you're going to entrain to those frequencies and you're going to feel like crap too. So that's just, hopefully you're able to see that it takes time to go from shame to love, right? Because you're closing the gap. You're trying to, you're doing things. You're working on yourself to go from shame to love, right? Because something happened when you were ashamed, and then now you got to get to love. Those are just examples, right? So I just wanted to share with you a bit about how energy works and why it takes us time. It takes us time, you guys. It's not necessarily our timing. There is divine timing. Our soul has to evolve, right? It's evolving. The soul, the non-physical, is teaching our physical, ourself, our ego. The ego is more of a slower, dense frequency. Okay, so our soul, which is our higher self, is teaching our lower self and grabbing it through entrainment, going, come on, let's go. But it takes time. And that's because we live in the third dimensional world of physicality, okay? It's just the way it is. We live in a time-space continuum. Whenever there's a space between things, it takes time to go from A to B. All right, you guys, what am I always saying to you? Stay connected. I hope you liked this video and you learned something from it. If you did, please click that like button. And I've got 2 more videos in this series coming up for you. So stay connected. Stay connected to yourself, your friends and family, and me. And I'll see ya on the flip side.